Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Voice of Diary. If you're directly listening this story, recommend to listen the first part, then come to this story. LTs continue the story. Once you see people clearly, you stop needing answers from them. I didn't confront either of them immediately. Not because I was scared, because confrontation gives dishonest people a chance to rewrite the story. I wanted them comfortable, confident, sloppy. At home, I acted normal, not distant, not cold. Normality disarms people who think they're smarter than you. She mistook my calm for surrender. At work, I did something different. I documented everything. Not screenshots, not recordings. Patterns, timelines, decisions. Who said what, when, and who benefited. I learned something important watching my colleague operate. He never broke rules directly. He leaned on them, bent them, used other people's assumptions as cover. So I let him. He started pushing harder. He reassigned tasks without authority. Spoke for me in meetings. Once he told a junior employee that I was phasing out and that all approvals should go through him. When I corrected that publicly, he smiled and said, "Relax. We're on the same team." That word again. Team. As if loyalty was assumed. At home, my wife escalated too. She stopped pretending, started testing boundaries openly. She criticized my clothes, my routine, my presence. She compared me to him without using his name. He actually listens. He has ambition. He knows how to make people feel valued. One night, she said it outright. "I think I made a mistake marrying you." I didn't raise my voice, didn't argue. I asked one question. "Are you involved with him?" She laughed. Not because it was funny, because she thought it was ridiculous that I'd ask something so obvious and yet so unprovable. "You're imagining things," she said. And honestly, this paranoia is why I've been pulling away. Gaslighting works best when delivered calmly. A week later, I came home early. Their shoes were by the door. Not hidden, not rushed, placed casually like they belonged there. I stood still for a moment. Long enough to feel the final piece settle into place. Then I walked in. They weren't doing anything dramatic, just sitting too close on the couch, his arm resting along the back, her leaning into it like muscle memory had already formed. Neither of them jumped. That told me everything. "This isn't what it looks like," she started. He didn't say anything. He just watched me, measuring, calculating. I looked at him. "Get out." He smiled, a slow one. This is a conversation between husband and wife. The entitlement in that sentence almost impressed me. I looked back at her. Is he staying? She hesitated. That hesitation was my answer. I stepped aside and opened the door wider. "You can both go." That's when I tried to flip the script. He stood up suddenly loud, accusatory, claimed I was unstable, that I'd been neglectful, that she'd been unhappy for years. He spoke like he was presenting evidence, like he was already rehearsed. She cried on cue, said she was scared of my reaction, said she needed space, said I was making her choose. I nodded. "You already did." They left together. What they didn't realize was that by leaving that way, they confirmed everything I needed confirmed. Not emotionally, strategically. The next phase wasn't loud. It was surgical. At work, I stopped correcting him publicly. Let him speak. Let him overreach. Let him take credit for decisions he didn't fully understand. I asked clarifying questions in private emails. Neutral tone, professional language, questions that required answers. At home, I secure my essentials quietly. Documents, accounts, assets, not to run, to prepare. Then came their biggest mistake. They got arrogant. He started hinting at a promotion he hadn't earned yet. She started talking about starting fresh and living honestly, as if honesty hadn't just been optional for months. They assumed I was out of the picture. They assumed wrong, because while they were busy rewriting the future, I was positioning myself to control the narrative they'd been using against me. And once that control shifted, there would be no dramatic explosion, just consequences. People like them don't fear morality. They fear exposure. I didn't confront them again. Not immediately. I let them believe the story they'd written was holding. She stayed away most nights. When she came back, it was to collect things, not explanations. He started acting like my role at work was already vacant. That's the danger of entitlement. It convinces people the ending is guaranteed. At work, the shift was subtle at first. Leadership began asking questions, not accusations. Questions, the kind that come when patterns don't line up anymore. Why approval skipped steps? Why project documentation suddenly lacked depth? Why timelines he claimed ownership of had inconsistencies only someone hands-on would catch? I answered carefully, calmly, with receipts that weren't explosive, just undeniable. Emails, meeting summaries, clarifications I'd asked weeks earlier that he'd brushed off or answered vaguely. No emotion, no blame, just facts. He tried to course correct too late. Started deflecting, blaming juniors, claiming miscommunication. But once trust erodes, even confidence sounds rehearsed. The promotion he bragged about quietly vanished. Then his influence did. Then his seat at certain meetings. He cornered me one afternoon near the elevators. "You set me up," he said under his breath. I looked at him. "You walked into your own reflection." That was the last real conversation we had. At home, things reached their peak. She came back one evening unannounced. Angry. Defensive. He distanced himself. Work stress, she said. Said I'd poisoned people against him. Said I ruined everything. She expected guilt, regret, an apology. What she got was calm. I told her I wasn't fighting anymore. Not for explanations. Not for loyalty. I told her I'd already made peace with the truth. That whatever they thought they were building was based on borrowed stability. She accused me of being cold. I told her coldness is what happens when the noise stops. Then I said something she didn't expect. "I hope it works out for you." She froze. That sentence broke something in her, because it removed her power. No anger to react to. No begging to reject. Just finality. She left that night for good. Over the next few weeks, everything settled into its rightful place. At work, my position stabilized. Quiet recognition replaced flashy confidence. The kind that lasts. He transferred teams not long after. No announcement. No drama. Just absence. I didn't celebrate. I didn't need to. Revenge isn't loud when it's done right. It's watching people live inside the consequences of choices they thought they'd never have to own. My life didn't suddenly become perfect. It became honest. Mornings got quieter. Evenings lighter. I slept better knowing I wasn't sharing space with people who saw me as an obstacle instead of partner. Trust, I learned, isn't about control. It's about alignment. And once that alignment breaks, holding on only delays the inevitable. I rebuilt slowly, intentionally, on my terms. And for the first time in a long time, peace didn't feel like something I had earned. It just showed up. If you made it this far, congratulations. You've got better judgment than the people in this story. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon for more stories which can be happens with you. And share the video with your known ones.